So I've been on a beginner motorcycle rider quest and making sure you are all safe, but I haven't even talked about that many beginner motorcycles. Some have asked me questions about specific bikes and if they are good. Well, I didn't know too much about different bikes other than my own, so I decided to do some of my own research. I found a wonderful website called beginnermotorcycles.com. On that website, there's a great article called Getting Started Beginner Motorcycle Guide. I wanted to create something very similar to what they wrote, so I decided to give credit to a wonderfully written article. I'll be paraphrasing a lot and then giving my own opinions on the subject. With that said, I want to give you my own take on this wonderful article, so let's go ahead and get started on the Beginner Motorcycle Guide. I'll be offering a lot of my own opinion, and I really want you to offer yours in the comments below. As always, this is a discussion and not the definitive guide on all things motorcycles. Also, if you would like to learn more about motorcycles and safety, click that subscribe button and that little notification bell next to it. That way you'll be notified whenever I upload a new video. With that said, let's get started. I believe there are 3 things that you need to think about when it comes to motorcycles. First, number 1, choose the right motorcycle for you. First, you need to figure out what size bike you want. That might seem backwards as some of you are already dead set on a brand and type of bike. You might want a Harley Sportster, but haven't really thought of the 883 or 1200. Maybe the Roadster or the Harley 48. Maybe you like sport bikes and just want a Honda. Maybe a KTM because Snowcat rides one. Here's where figuring out the size and kind of the bike really helps out with that decision. To go a little deeper on that, you need to know the size of the engine and kind of engine. First, the size. Here's the most common term put out there, cc. This stands for cubic centimeters, a measurement of volume referring to the size of the engine displacement in the motor. So what does it really mean? Generally speaking, the bigger the engine, the more cc's it has. That means that a Honda CB1000R is going to have a lot more power than a 300cc Honda CBR 300R. Notice how a lot of motorcycle companies put numbers in the model name. Those are usually the cc's in the motorcycle. Now you need to know the engine configurations. The most common types are twin and inline 4 engines. This is basically how the motor is shaped and how everything fits. Twin engines only have 2 cylinders that generate all of the power. There are many types of twin engines depending on how the 2 cylinders are lined up. You might have heard of a V-twin engine. It gets its name from the V formation created by the cylinders. There are also parallel twins, opposing twins, and a few other configurations that are less common. If you've been here for a while, you know I ride a Harley Sportster. My Harley has the distinct 45-degree V-twin configuration. That is the perfect example of a V-twin. When a motorcycle has an inline 4 engine, this means the bike has 4 cylinders that all line up with each other. There are 2 ways to tell if a bike has an inline 4 engine. How it looks. Typically, you'll see 4 exhaust pipes near the front of the engine right behind the front wheel. These pipes usually go into 1 or 2 exhausts that point out to the rear of the back. The sound of the engine. Inline 4 engines have a very specific sound, a little bit higher pitched with a faster idle than a twin engine. If you have ever heard of a Japanese sports bike, then chances are you've heard of an inline 4 engine. Seems like a lot of information, but it's pretty simple. Just look at the engine and you'll tell the difference immediately. Now that you know the difference between the 2 most common engine configurations, we need to add in the cc's. This article recommends that you don't go over 500 cc's if you choose an inline 4, and here's why. Generally speaking, an inline 4 engine will start off kind of slow, but once you hit a certain RPM range, the amount of power they generate increases dramatically. Basically, you could be riding down the street and feel fine, and then you hit that certain RPM and you just can't handle the acceleration. Remember, this is for beginners. If you have more experience, you might be comfortable with any range cc's on an inline 4. They also recommend that you stick with 650 cc's or less on a V-twin motorcycle. I originally started off with my Harley Nightster, and that is a 1200cc motor. I feel as though that is fine for beginners. I even made a video on this very subject. The link will be in the description to that video, and a card will be popping up in the right-hand corner of your screen if you want to watch it. If you want to get a smaller displacement V-twin, I recommend the Harley Street Rod or an Indian Scout 60. BeginnerMotorcycles.com recommends the Kawasaki Ninja 250, the Ninja 500, the Honda CBR 250, the Honda Rebel 250, Suzuki Boulevard S40, the Suzuki SV 650, and the Suzuki V-Strom 650. All great bikes for the beginner. And if you want to learn more about the Honda Rebel 250 and the 500, I do have a link in the description to a video about when they announced it back in 2016. Now that you have your bike, you need to get your gear. I never recommend riding without protective gear. It's just dumb, and you'll die sooner or later because of your choice. I recently did a video on this very subject, so I will be brief here. Wear a helmet, jacket, gloves, pants, and boots. I'm going to repeat myself here. Wear a helmet, jacket, gloves, pants, and boots. You will die or be seriously hurt if you do not wear protective gear. Never get on the bike without it. Make sure they are all proper motorcycle rated pieces of gear too. No fashionable jackets from the local clothing store. Once again, I did a few videos on this very subject and the links will be in the description. Now let's get on to the last tip. Now you need to learn to ride a motorcycle. Seems pretty simple, just hop on and go. Well, there are a lot of things to learn. For me, learning how to shift and use the clutch came natural because I drove a manual truck for years prior to riding a motorcycle. that helped a lot, but not everyone has a manual transmission vehicle to practice on. This article recommends taking an MSF course, and I personally agree. MSF stands for Motorcycle Safety Foundation. It includes classroom portions and a field portion. It will take someone who has never set foot on a motorcycle and give them the knowledge and experience they need to pass the license exam and enjoy a long and safe riding career. You go over panic braking, slow speed maneuvers, clutch manipulation, obstacle avoidance, throttle control, and a lot of mistakes that new riders tend to make. Towards the end of the second day, you have to pass a riding exam and an obstacle course that tests all the skills that you have learned. In some states, passing the MSF exam allows you to waive the DMV riding test, so you only have to take a written test at the DMV. I did something very similar with my driving license. I took a week-long class, 1 hour every day with a driving instructor. All I had to do is walk in to the DMV after that was all said and done and hand in my certificate, and I got my license. If you think that taking the MSF course might be a waste of time, it's only 2 days. You learn quite a bit, especially if you've never ridden before. And if you have ridden before and you know how to ride, taking the MSF course still is very beneficial to you. When I was signing up for motorcycle insurance, they asked if I did take this course, and you will get a discount on your motorcycle insurance if you have this certificate. So highly recommend it, even if you've never ridden or if you've ridden. Those are the 3 main things you need to know and do to start riding a motorcycle safely. I highly recommend you take your time and do your own research before buying a motorcycle. I'll be coming out with more videos on different pieces of motorcycle safety gear and new rider tips, so go ahead and hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. That way you do not miss anything. I'll see you around, and I hope you all ride safe. Bye.